When you grow old, if your children don't respect or ignore you, stay calm and do this. Aging brings many changes, physically, emotionally, and socially. One of the hardest challenges for many elderly parents is feeling ignored or disrespected by their own children. You raise them with love and care, yet now they seem distant. They call less often, visit infrequently, or even disregard your feelings. This can be painful, but reacting with anger or sadness won't improve the situation. Instead, take a different approach, one that brings you peace, dignity, and possibly even rekindles the bond with your children. Here are 8 wise steps to help you navigate this stage of life with strength and self-respect. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. 1. Stay calm and reflect instead of reacting with anger. As you grow older, there may come a time when your children become distant, their calls grow less frequent, and their visits become rare. You raised them with love, guided them through life, and sacrificed so much for their well-being. Yet now you find yourself wondering, did I do something wrong? Why don't they care the way they used to? This pain cuts deep, leaving a hollow space in your heart. But before you let anger, sadness, or resentment consume you, take a step back. Breathe. Understand that reacting emotionally will only push them further away. It is natural to feel hurt when the people you love the most seem to forget you. But instead of lashing out, blaming them, or drowning in self-pity, embrace a different perspective, one that will bring you inner peace and restore your dignity. Your worth does not depend on how often your children call. It is not measured by their attention, nor does it diminish because they have built lives of their own. You are still the same person who has lived, loved, and contributed to the world in countless ways. You are not defined by anyone's neglect. Think of the wisdom you have gained over the years, the lessons life has taught you, and the challenges you have overcome. Those experiences make you valuable, independent of anyone's recognition. Instead of reacting in frustration, allow yourself to reflect on what truly matters: your happiness, your self-respect, and your ability to find fulfillment beyond the validation of others. When you understand that your peace comes from within, not from external validation, you begin to release the weight of expectation. Take inspiration from those who have faced this same struggle with grace. Consider the story of an elderly man who once felt abandoned by his children. Instead of letting bitterness take hold, he chose a quiet moment of reflection. He sat in his garden, letting the warmth of the sun touch his face, and remembered all the good he had done in his life. That moment of solitude helped him realize something profound. His dignity was his own to protect. No one could take it away unless he allowed them to. So the next time loneliness creeps in, don't let it break you. Find strength in knowing that your value does not waver. When you hold on to your dignity, you do not just regain peace. You remind the world and yourself that you are still whole, still worthy, and still deserving of respect no matter who remembers to call. 2. Rebuild your own life and find new purpose. There is a certain kind of emptiness that comes when you realize your children no longer revolve their lives around you. You spent decades nurturing them, guiding them, and making sacrifices so they could have a better future. But now, they are busy building their own lives, and in that process, you may feel like you have been left behind. The long, quiet days stretch before you, and you find yourself waiting for the phone to ring, for a visit that may never come, for a moment when they will remember how much you once meant to them, but waiting only deepens the loneliness. Instead of longing for what once was, shift your focus back to yourself. This stage of life is not an ending, it is a new beginning. It is a time to rediscover who you are outside of being a parent, to explore the parts of yourself that may have been set aside while you were busy caring for others. The truth is, when you build a life filled with passion and purpose, you transform not only your own existence, but also the way others perceive you, including your children. Think of the joy that comes from doing something purely for yourself. It might be picking up a paintbrush after years of neglecting your artistic side, planting a garden and watching it flourish, or joining a book club where you can discuss stories that ignite your mind. Maybe it's volunteering at a community center, mentoring younger generations, or simply walking in the park each morning, feeling the fresh air on your skin. These moments of fulfillment are what make life meaningful again. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate happiness and contentment. When your children see that you are living a full and enriched life, not just waiting for them to give you attention, they may start to admire you in a way they never have before. They will see you not as someone who is fading into the background, but as someone who is still vibrant, still engaged with the world, still whole. Your purpose does not end when your children grow up. In fact, this may be the first time in decades that you can fully focus on yourself without guilt or obligation. Embrace it. Live boldly, love deeply, and chase the things that make your soul feel alive. When you do, you may just find that your children come back to you, not out of duty, but out of admiration for the person you have become. 3. Communicate your feelings wisely. When your children grow distant, it is natural to feel hurt, even abandoned. The silence can feel like a rejection, a sign that you no longer matter in their lives. You may want to ask them, "Why don't you call me? Do you even care?" But as much as these words reflect your pain, they often do not bring the response you hope for. Instead of drawing them closer, they may pull away even more, burdened by guilt or resentment. This is why how you communicate your feelings matters just as much as what you say. Love should not be given as a demand, but as an offering. When you express your emotions from a place of love rather than frustration, you invite connection instead of conflict. Instead of saying, "You never visit me," say, "I miss you and would love to hear about your life." Instead of, "You don't care about me anymore," say, "I always enjoy our conversations. Let's catch up when you have time." Words are powerful, and choosing them carefully can transform the way your children respond to you. Think of a father who hadn't heard from his son in months. He longed to pick up the phone and demand, "Why have you forgotten about me?" But instead, he sat down and wrote a letter. Not one filled with accusations, but one filled with warmth. "I've been thinking about you. I hope life is treating you well. I miss our talks and just want you to know that I'm here whenever you need me." A few days later, his phone rang. His son had read the letter and felt the love behind it. That one letter rekindled a relationship that had been fading. Sometimes children do not mean to be neglectful, they simply get lost in their own busy lives. They do not realize the weight of their absence or how much their parents long for connection. But when they are met with love instead of guilt, they are more likely to return, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely want to. Communication is not about forcing someone to listen. It is about creating a space where they want to listen. Speak from the heart, not from frustration. Choose words that heal, not words that hurt. When you do, you leave the door open for understanding, for reconnection, and for the love that still exists between you and your children to find its way back. 4. Set healthy boundaries. Love should never mean sacrificing your self-respect. As parents, you have given endlessly. Your time, your energy, your patience, your very heart. But as the years pass, The balance of give and take can shift. Some children grow to expect their parents' unwavering availability while offering little in return. They may call only when they need something, visit only when it's convenient, or take your kindness for granted. And because you love them, you may have allowed it. You may have said yes when you wanted to say no, excused their indifference, and convinced yourself that being needed was enough. But love without respect is not love, it is obligation. And no parent, no matter how much they adore their child, should feel used, overlooked, or undervalued. This is where boundaries become essential. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out, but doors that ensure only respect and kindness are allowed in. They are a way of teaching others how to treat you, of reminding your children that while you love them unconditionally, you also deserve consideration. Imagine a mother whose son only calls when he needs money. She always helps, believing that one day he will appreciate her sacrifices. But with each request, his gratitude fades, replaced by expectation. One day, instead of agreeing, she gently says, I love you, but I can't help this time. I know you will find a way. At first, he is frustrated, but over time, he learns that his mother is not a source of endless giving. She is a person with her own needs and limits. That moment of self respect shifts their relationship. He begins to see her differently, not as someone to take from, but as someone to cherish. Setting boundaries does not mean shutting out your children. It means showing them that your love is strong, but so is your dignity. It means allowing them to take responsibility for their own lives while ensuring that your own life is respected. Say no when it feels right. Protect your time, your energy, and your peace. Teach them through your actions that love is not about constantly sacrificing yourself, but about mutual respect. When you stand up for yourself, you do not lose your children. You teach them how to truly value you. And in doing so, you remind them that love at its best is built not on obligation, but on respect, gratitude, and appreciation. 5. Lead by example. Respect is not something you demand. It is something you inspire. As a parent, you may expect your children to honor you, to call regularly, to visit often, and to show appreciation for all you have done. But life does not always unfold that way. Children grow into adults with their own responsibilities, their own struggles, their own blind spots. And sometimes, in the rush of their lives, they forget the very foundation that shaped them. It is easy to feel resentful, to wonder why they do not return the same devotion you once gave so freely. But resentment builds walls, not bridges. The best way to teach respect is not through anger, but through action. Consider a father whose children rarely visit. He misses them deeply, but instead of chastising them for their absence, he greets them warmly whenever they do come. He does not dwell on their long silence. Instead, he listens when they speak, asks thoughtful questions, and offers wisdom when it is welcomed. He carries himself with quiet dignity, showing patience even when they are distracted. Over time, his children begin to notice. They see the unwavering kindness in his eyes, the steadiness of his heart, and slowly, without being told, they start to mirror that respect back to him. Children do not learn respect through lectures, they learn by observing. They notice how you treat others, how you handle disappointment, how you carry yourself in moments of frustration. If you want them to respect you, respect yourself first. Speak with kindness even when you are hurt. Hold your head high even when you feel forgotten. Do not chase their attention. Instead, build a life so rich and meaningful that they are drawn to you, not out of guilt, but out of admiration. Leading by example also means respecting them as individuals. It means acknowledging that they too are navigating the complexities of life. It means offering guidance without control, love without expectation, and support without condition. When you treat your children with patience and understanding, even in moments of disappointment, you set the standard for how they should treat you in return. Respect is a seed. When planted in love and nurtured with patience, it grows, sometimes slowly but always surely. Live in a way that commands respect, not through fear or guilt, but through the quiet strength of your character. And in time, your children will recognize that the greatest lesson you ever taught them was not through words, but through the way you lived your life. 6. Stay financially independent. There is a quiet power in being able to stand on your own, even in old age. Many parents spend their lives providing for their children, making sacrifices, and ensuring their family's well-being. But as the years pass, roles begin to shift. Some parents find themselves relying more and more on their children, financially, emotionally, or logistically. While there is no shame in receiving help when truly needed, becoming dependent can sometimes lead to an unintended loss of respect. Children may not say it outright, but financial dependence can change the way they see their parents. A once strong figure can start to seem like a responsibility, a burden they must carry. This can create tension, unspoken resentment, and even a shift in power dynamics. Parents who once guided their children through life may find themselves being treated with impatience, as though their needs are inconvenient. That is why financial independence is about more than just money. It is about maintaining your dignity, your confidence, and your ability to make choices on your own terms. Imagine a retired couple who, despite living on a fixed income, carefully budget their expenses. They do not spend beyond their means, nor do they expect their children to support them. They plan wisely, choosing a simpler lifestyle that allows them to maintain their independence. Because of this, they never have to ask for financial help, and their children never have to worry about carrying their parents' burdens. Instead of being seen as dependents, they remain a source of wisdom and strength. Their children respect them not only for what they provided in the past, but for how they continue to navigate life with self-sufficiency. Being financially independent does not mean refusing help out of pride. It means making conscious choices to secure your future and avoid unnecessary reliance on others. It means living within your means, preparing for medical needs, and ensuring that you have control over your own affairs. Independence fosters respect, not because it places distance between you and your children, but because it shows them that you are still capable, still strong, and still the person they have always looked up to. Your children should love you for who you are, not for what you need from them. And when they see you standing tall, managing your own life with grace and wisdom, they will not just love you, they will admire you. True respect comes not from demands, but from the quiet, unwavering dignity of a life lived with independence and purpose. 7. Forgive, but don't forget your worth. Forgiveness is not about excusing those who have hurt you. It is about freeing yourself from the weight of resentment. When your children become distant, when they forget to call, when they fail to acknowledge the sacrifices you made for them, the pain can feel unbearable. It is easy to let bitterness take root, to replay old memories and wonder how love can fade so easily. But carrying that pain does not punish them. It only punishes you. Letting go of resentment does not mean allowing disrespect. It does not mean pretending that their absence does not hurt. What it does mean is choosing to release the anger so that it no longer has power over you. It means understanding that life pulls people in different directions, that sometimes children forget, not because they do not love you, but because they are caught up in their own struggles. And sometimes they do make mistakes. They fail to appreciate, they neglect, they take for granted, but their actions or lack of them do not define your worth. Your value is not determined by how often they call or how much they acknowledge you. You were worthy before you became a parent, and you remain worthy even when your children fail to see it. A mother who spends her days waiting by the phone, consumed by sorrow, gives away her power. A father who lets resentment harden his heart closes the door to future connection. But a parent who forgives while still holding on to their dignity reclaims their life. Consider the woman who, after years of waiting for her daughter to visit, decided to stop measuring her happiness by her child's attention. Instead, she picked up a passion she had long abandoned, painting. With every stroke of the brush, she felt her joy return. One day, her daughter visited, surprised to see her mother so alive with purpose. "You never told me you started painting again," she said. And in that moment, admiration replaced guilt. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. It allows you to move forward, not weighed down by disappointment, but lifted by the realization that your life still has meaning beyond your role as a parent. You can forgive the past without allowing it to define you. And when you do, you will not just find peace, you will find yourself again. 8. Build a new circle of companionship. Loneliness is one of the heaviest burdens of old age, especially when the children you once devoted your life to become distant. You may find yourself waiting for a call that doesn't come, for a visit that is always postponed, for a moment of connection that feels further away with each passing year. The silence can be painful, and the temptation to depend entirely on your children for emotional support can grow stronger. But placing all your happiness in their hands can lead to disappointment, frustration, and resentment. The truth is, human beings are not meant to rely on just one source of companionship. Life is vast, and its beauty does not end when your children become busy with their own lives. It continues in the friendships you nurture, in the laughter shared over coffee with a neighbor, in the warmth of a familiar face at a community gathering. The more you open yourself to new relationships, the less you will feel the sting of neglect. Companionship does not have to come from your children alone. It can come from the people around you, if you allow it. Imagine a man in his 80s, once deeply lonely after his children moved far away. He spent his days in isolation, feeling forgotten. But one morning, instead of sitting at home, he took a walk to a nearby park. There, he met others his age, people who understood his struggles, who shared stories, who laughed at the same jokes. Week by week, these casual meetings turned into friendships, and the loneliness that once weighed on him began to fade. He no longer waited for his children to fill the emptiness. He had built a new family of his own. Finding companionship requires courage. It means stepping outside of your comfort zone, saying yes to invitations, joining a group, or even reaching out to someone who may feel just as alone as you do. It means remembering that your worth is not measured by how often your children visit, but by the connections you continue to build. You are never too old to create new friendships, to share new experiences, to feel seen and valued. By surrounding yourself with people who appreciate you, you free yourself from the pain of waiting. And in doing so, you may even find that your children return to you, not because they feel guilty, but because they see a parent who is still vibrant, still engaged, and still deeply alive. Build a new circle of companionship. Loneliness in old age is a quiet ache, creeping in slowly, filling the spaces once occupied by laughter, conversation, and the presence of loved ones. It happens when the house that was once bustling with energy now sits in silence, when the phone that used to ring with calls from your children remains still, when you begin to feel like a forgotten part of someone else's past instead of a valued presence in their present. The pain of being ignored or overlooked by your own children is not just about the absence of their company. It is about the fading sense of connection, of belonging, of being truly seen. But here is a truth that too many people forget. Your life does not end when your children move on. Their distance does not mean your world has to shrink. The love, joy, and companionship you crave are still out there, waiting to be found, but only if you choose to open yourself to it. The most dangerous thing you can do is isolate yourself, allowing loneliness to define your days. Waiting by the phone, hoping for a visit that may never come, or placing all your emotional needs on your children will only lead to disappointment. Instead, the key to filling the void is to build new relationships, find new sources of joy, and reclaim your place in the world. Look around you. There are people everywhere, neighbors, old friends you've lost touch with, fellow seniors who understand exactly how you feel. There are community centers filled with people looking for connection, book clubs waiting for a new voice, walking groups where laughter and conversation flow as easily as the miles pass. Every friendship starts with a single step, a hello, a shared story, an invitation for coffee. You are never too old to make new connections. The human heart does not have an expiration date when it comes to companionship. Think of a woman in her 70s who, after years of feeling lonely, decided to take a different path. Instead of waiting for her children to visit, she joined a local art class. She had never painted before, but within weeks, she found herself surrounded by people who shared her curiosity and joy. They laughed, encouraged one another, and in time, these strangers became her friends. The emptiness she once felt began to fade, not because her children suddenly called more often, but because she had built a life that no longer depended on their attention. The reality is, your children will always love you, but their lives will not revolve around you the way they once did. This is not abandonment, it is life. They are caught up in their own responsibilities, their own struggles, and sometimes they forget to slow down and look back. But that does not mean you should stand still, waiting for them to turn around. Instead, keep moving forward. Surround yourself with people who see you, who appreciate you, who want to share their time and energy with you. Companionship is not something you wait for, it is something you create. Some may say, but I don't know where to start. The answer is simple: start anywhere. Start small. Attend a local event, join a senior exercise group, go to the library, or simply greet a neighbor with warmth. The beauty of life is that connection can be found in the most unexpected places. The moment you open yourself to the possibility of new friendships, the weight of loneliness begins to lift. And here's something remarkable. When you are happy, when you are engaged in life, your children may begin to notice. They will hear the joy in your voice, see the glow of fulfillment in your eyes, and feel drawn to you, not out of guilt, but out of admiration. Instead of seeing a parent who is waiting for them to fill an emotional void, they will see someone who is thriving, someone they want to be around. So do not let loneliness define your later years. Step into the world with courage. You are still vibrant. You are still valuable. And there are still people out there who will cherish your presence if only you let them. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.